As you can tell by the folks who are surrounding me back here, the issue of school safety is of the utmost importance. Ensuring that our students can focus on their studies rather than having to wonder whether or not they're going to be safe in school is a bipartisan issue. Regardless of what our different political approaches might be to certain issues, we can all unite around the truth. Violence in our schools is simply not acceptable. I am announcing today a four-pronged approach to school safety known as Smart on Safety Initiative. The plan we will discuss today includes measures that can be implemented immediately. We must act now. The first prong of Smart on Safety Initiative is I support Senator Tripp Pittman's Senate Bill 323, which permits funds appropriated to the Education Advancement and Technology Fund to be used for school security purposes. These funds must be used on security techniques that are proven to work and that will be effective. Now, the legislature for sure is to be commended for its conservative leadership in creating the rolling reserve. The rolling reserve is now fully funded and thereby allows available dollars to be used to improve security in our schools. I'm also in favor of providing the proper training to ensure that all schools are optimally participating in the virtual Alabama system. This system will allow first responders to maintain and access information on the physical layout of the school buildings and other information about the school. Second, we will enable our schools to better identify and respond to potential threats which may emanate from a student in the school. Parents, teachers, and administrators know our students better than anyone else, and they're in the best position to identify potential problems and to address them. See something, say something. In Parkland, we know that that young man, that student, was seen walking across the campus with something long in his arms that appeared to be a gun. Somebody saw that. So if you see something, say something. Schools will be required to develop a plan to identify students at risk for committing violence to themselves or to others. And schools will measure student engagement to prevent kids from falling through the cracks. This plan will bring together education, law enforcement, and mental health professionals to identify these potentially at-risk students. And third, through emergency operation plans, schools can prepare to respond to a crisis before it begins. To ensure that every school is prepared for a possible threat of violence, I'm asking the Alabama Department of Education to standardize emergency operations plans and to require all schools to properly train both students and personnel on how to respond in an emergency situation. How a school responds in a crisis situation shouldn't just be in writing. It should become part of the school's regular routine operations. My administration will work with the Department of Education, with the Attorney General's Office, the Alabama Association of School Resource Officials, and the Alabama Peace Officers Standards and Training Commission to develop collaborative training for law enforcement officials and school personnel. And fourth, today I'm signing an executive order establishing the Governor's Securing Alabama Facilities on Education Council, or we call it SAFE, S-A-F-E Council. This group will be composed of the Secretary of the Alabama Law Enforcement Agency, the Secretary of Office Information Technology, Commissioner of Mental Health, and the State Superintendent of Education. The Governor's SAFE Council will work in concert with the legislature's Emergency Task Force on School Safety and Security to continue the very important work that was begun by Representative Terry Collins, Representative Alan Baker, and so many others, work that they've done. I'm also directing that the SAFE Council report back to me by April the 30th as to what steps what agencies can take immediately using the personnel and resources they already have to take this framework and move it along into implementation. The Safe Council is charged with not only considering what executive actions can be taken to protect our schools, but also to consider all proposals on their individual merits. Whether arming school personnel, utilizing security teams, or controlled access to buildings, all ideas should be considered, and only those that we know are most likely to work should be implemented.
The governor identified a number of areas, and I just selectively pick out a couple which I think are very strong in terms of implementing the plan. Number one, she indicated on the education advancement and technology, I know the legislation's coming through, and hopefully that will go through, will enable school systems to use some of those funds for security purposes. Why is that so important? We have many isolated, poorly funded school systems that do not have the resources to be able to afford security measures. This will enable them to have more capacity than they would have had otherwise, and I think that's a real strength. Number two, I think to upgrade our emergency operation plan is absolutely critical, because this is a changing environment. And not only do we need to have a plan, we need to have the staff development that will enable us to react to. And I would say to you, for those of us that have gone through those type of plans, you quickly find out there are some gaps in it, and that's why you need to practice these plans, just like fire drills and other things, so that you can get better at it. Having a committee, a small committee, I think is also an advantage, because that will enable them to move in a timely way to affect changes, but also to call upon other agencies and other people that could help us. So I really am very pleased to be a participant here. I want to commend the governor for a very thoughtful plan, and I look forward to working with her and the committee as we go forward.